And we're live.
Yeah, I see it.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our pop-up business talk. This stream is a bit spontaneous, so we're not exactly sure where the conversation will take us. But as always, it will be very insightful and valuable for all business-minded people out there. My name is Dan Pincus. I'm the producer of this stream. I'm joined by our leading expert, Victor Nichols, and we're thrilled to welcome Dan Pincus, a networking and marketing professional with a truly unique business background. Dan, please start by telling us a little bit about what you do and why you do it.
So, first of all, thank you both for inviting me onto this podcast. I appreciate the invite. Um, what I do is I run an organization called World Golf Network. It's a service that we offer to business owners and senior executives, and we create the opportunity for them to build relationships in a social atmosphere where they're not actually doing any sort of transactions. They're not being asked to refer anyone or do anything. They're just there to build relationships and to get to know good people that might be a good resource for them in the future.
So Dan, what before you even go on from that, because you mentioned in your introduction there about that they're not required to do anything, they're not required to give leads, they're not required, because I think some of the people listening may, especially if they're new to business and new to networking, are unfamiliar with like the BNIs and the Latips of the world, where they are a bit more militant about counting people's leads and counting their referrals and tracking. And I mean, I say it that way because I know we all, when we began our journey, right, we joined those kinds of organizations that had different chapters and all of that. And I found them to be, obviously in the beginning of my career, I found them to be helpful, but they were not at the level that you are. So I just kind of wanted to make that distinction so folks realize that you're more of an executive decision-making kind of a level, and the people that you deal with are the people who are making decisions, writing checks, and doing business.
Correct. So yeah, for those who are not familiar with networking, let's get that's a great thing to actually bring that up as a point to talk about. Is that most people who actually learn about networking learn about it in a very transactional way, which is really more sales oriented than networking oriented. So truly, networking is not meant to be a sales process. It's meant to be a place where people are building relationships and getting to know people and having a stronger network, which is why they call it networking. So as you build your network and you basically know more people and you have more resources at your fingertips, not only is it helpful for you, but it's helpful for anyone you know. Because if anyone needs anything, they're going to come to you because you know a lot of great people and you can help them with whatever they need. And that's what networking is truly about. And if people really concentrated more on the relationships rather than on the sales, they actually would have stronger, deeper relationships, and people would actually go to them a lot freer and easier because they trust them and they know them. And that's who people tend to want to work with, people they know and they trust.
Right. Yeah,
You,
I'm glad we made that distinction because again, we make sometimes, we think that everybody is at the same place in their networking journey,
Yes.
and they're not.
yeah, I think your approach and Vic's approach is very similar because he always talks about how important it is to build interpersonal relationship before you even sell anything. And that is actually what your club is about, is building the bond, I guess. And
Yeah.
like from the it's interesting because from like psychologically, people, especially men, like we girls, we can or go and just talk, but men, they kind of need to form this connection. They kind of need to do something together. And that's why I guess your organization is very successful, because golf can increase oxytocin, all those endorphins and hormones, and people kind of like men, they create this bond, they create this you know experience together, and that's how they build good connections.
Which brings up a question for me, Dan, related to your organization. How many women and how many men?
It's about 80% men to 20% women.
Numbers, just percentage wise.
Yeah, it's about 80% men to 20% women.
Okay.
And we offer also a social membership for our program for people who do not play golf. And there we have a much more even number of men and women because a lot of women don't play golf. And therefore they still want access to other business owners and senior executives. And as a social member, they're still eating together with everyone. They're drinking, they're building relationships, and they're just having a good time with each other outside of the game of golf. Golf is just a vehicle to speed the process up.
Right.
And for those who don't know how to play golf or don't play golf, they don't understand that golf is actually a way to build a relationship. When people first started playing golf many years ago, like over 100 years ago, golf was never a sport. It was actually an interview process. And people learned, and when people played golf, they were actually learning about whether you cheat, whether you lie, how you handle stress. They learned all about a person playing around a golf with them, and that was how a company would actually interview their clients, interview their vendors, and even interview C-level executives they want to bring into their business. It was a way for them to say, before we bring you on, let me see who you are. And by playing around a golf, they figured that out from people.
This is very cool.
That is very cool, and it's such a it's so true because, as Dan knows, I am an abysmal golf player, a golfer. I mean, I played golf and I took lessons and all that stuff, but I can throw the ball better and farther than I can hit it. But what he's saying is so true, because in the times that I do go out and have played golf, because it takes so long, because you are playing around with a group of people, whether it's two people, foursome, whatever it is, you have to get to know who they are. I mean, because you're with them for so long. You're playing around. By the time you're done, there is some kind of bonding that goes on. Sometimes it's negative bonding, but bonding nonetheless. That goes on after you play around the golf. And I didn't really even understand it before I started, playing, how important it was. I had so many of my clients say, "Hey, Vic, you want to play in this foursome? You want to play with me?" And they would ask me. I'm like, "Dude, I don't do golf. Okay, so you want to go bowling? You want to do something else? I don't do golf." But when I did start playing it, it really was a key to getting to know people. So you're absolutely right, Dan. That it really is an interview process.
Yeah. So it's listen, once you know each other, now it's no longer interview. Now it's bonding.
Right. Exactly.
Right. But it's just as Diana mentioned in the very beginning of the process, is that it's men in general do not socialize as much as women do, and golf is you're almost forced into a situation where you're going to be socializing. You're going to be getting to know each other because there's nothing else to do but socialize and enjoy yourself out there.
Right, exactly. You're forced into it. You're absolutely right.
When did you guys realize that networking is very important for business? Because I believe that you don't finish college and you're like, I'm gonna be doing networking for my career.
Well, Vic and I came from the same background. We both have a very strong marketing background, and back in the 1990s, I actually had my own marketing firm. And I actually saw that the future of networking was going to grow dramatically because networking is a very inexpensive way to build relationships. And people by nature are gun shy in spending money in marketing. And marketing takes money and time to build that bonding and that branding and all the things that go on in terms of getting to have a relationship with another business or businesses. But networking is it's a longer process, but it's a lot less expensive because you're putting your time in more than you're putting your money in through networking.
Mm-hmm.
That was my personal thought process back in the 90s when I started networking.
And I think my perception was a bit the same when I started doing it myself, starting the business out of my parents' basement, barely having enough money to actually do the business itself, worry about marketing the business and going out and getting the business. So I started basically pounding the pavement. I started, walking the streets, so to speak, with flyers and handing them out. And then I was like, wow, when I started to have dialogues with people and started to get into conversations with them, I was able to see, I'm like, wow, this actually works. You know what I mean? This whole networking thing works. Maybe I should, get a little bit more deliberate about it, because like Dan said, when you start a business, especially when you're super young, when we started I started my business when I was very young. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And the networking piece gave me an opportunity to go out there and meet all kinds of people, but I also gave me an opportunity to meet people who were actually much further along than I was, in their evolution. And I learned so much by doing that. And I was like, wow, this networking thing is super, super important, and like you said, it didn't cost a lot of money, it cost a lot of time, but it didn't cost a lot of money.
Okay. Next question for you, because I started thinking about networking when I met Vic. Before that, I was like, well, I just go and talk to people. I didn't know the difference. But what do you think? What mindset should one adopt to become a better networker? What differentiate a good networker from a bad networker, or just from a regular professional?
Vic, you want to take that? Or you want me to take
No, you go. I want to hear your words of wisdom, Dan.
that? Okay, so networking is something where you need to have the mindset of what can I offer other people more so than what do I need for myself. If you come in with the mindset of I want to be a resource for others rather than I want to take from others, that's the person who's going to do the best in the world of networking. Because for those who give out to others and those who help others and those who show that they care about others, it will make other people care about them. And that's the most important thing of all, is that people care about you. If they don't care about you, you're not going to get a lot of value out of networking. So the people who are pushy, who are salesy, who are trying to get their business out there to everyone and sell everyone in the room, they're going to do very poorly in the world of networking. The people who are the ones who are saying, who are you? What do you do? Who do I know who can help you? Those are the people who are going to be like, wow, this person is so helpful, so nice. What can I do back for you? It's obvious that people want to reciprocate with each other, if nothing else for the fact that they want to continue networking with that person, is they keep on sending them more work and keep on helping them out because they want to be with people who are givers, not takers.
Yep.
That's my 2 cents.
No, but I think you distilled it down and you nailed it. Like you had alluded to earlier when we were, just in the beginning, where you're saying, hey, be that resource, be the resource. And it really is, I think a lot of people look at it, if you use the analogy of the hare and the tortoise, people look at it as if it's a race. And if they're kind of collecting contacts, which are very useless because there's no substance to the collection of those individuals. So they collect business cards and they have stacks of them. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm a successful networker. I got this big stack of business cards. And you're like, yeah, why don't you lay those down and tell me one thing about any one of the people that are in that stack of cards? And they're like, well, shit, I don't even remember where I met them. Worry about what kind of interaction I had with them. I'm like, it's useless. You might as well put a rubber band about it and use it to hold your door open because they're useless. So that, I think what you're talking about is that value proposition of being a resource, and let people come to you and be open, and also be open as a resource. I think the other piece of that, which I've learned, there's people that I know who know a lot of people and who are really, incredibly adept at what they do, but they're very closed with actually helping, and I think that is a massive mistake. Too much quid pro quo will stop you from being a successful networker. For sure.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
On the same token, though, let me say that a lot of people network too fast, and let me tell you what I mean by that.
Mhm.
Uh, a lot of people will make referrals to people they don't even know. And when you refer someone you don't know, you're actually putting your name on the line saying, I recommend that person. And you
Correct.
should never recommend someone you don't know anything about, because if that person has a bad experience, they're not going to take any more of your recommendations, because you obviously, whatever you've given out has been not of good value.
Yeah.
So you need to know who you're dealing with, and you need to qualify when you network with others. How well do I know that person? How well do I recommend that person before you make that referral? Because that will give you some credibility for the next referral that you make down the road.
I will dare to say, Dan, because I know I have, you have done that more than once in your career.
100%.
Yeah. Because those words of wisdom were given out of experience, not out of theory.
That's right.
I know. I have referred people in my career, and I'm like, what the hell did I do? You know, I created a massive problem where I wasn't even going to get anything out of it, and where I didn't have a problem before. So now I'm doing damage control on a situation where I didn't even have any skin in the game. Oh my God. You could that what you just said, if anybody listening to this gets anything out of this entire conversation, you should get that out of it. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so only refer trusted people.
Yep. And trust takes time.
Hmm.
And you can be open to getting to know someone, but not necessarily open so quickly, like Dan was saying, to referring that person, right? Because you want to get to know them. You've seen them, you've seen them in action, you know a little bit more about them, you know people who know them, you start to get a feel for who they are, you spend some time with them, you have breakfast, you have lunch, you have dinner, you play golf, okay, all of those things. And then you've got a trusted person in your network that when that question comes up, hey, do you have somebody who does X, Y, and Z? You're like, not only do I have somebody, but I got somebody really good.
Yeah, and listen, if you don't know anyone well enough, you can make a referral saying, I don't know this person. You have to do your own due diligence on that person,
Correct.
but qualify that before you make that referral. This way they know they have to do due diligence before they start working with that person.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. You can always do that pre-qualify. Yep. Yep. And as you've learned through the years, I do that too. There are some people that have made a great impression on me, and they have become, part of my, I'll say at least they're in my phone, let's say. Okay. And somebody asked me about it, and I don't know somebody who's actually used them, but they made an impression on me. I will do just what you said, Dan. You know what? This person seems like they're really good, but you're going to have to do your own research on this, because I've never done business with them, or I've never, you know what I mean, had that kind of an interaction.
Exactly.
Hmm. Okay, that's cool. Other advices that come from your experiences? Do you have more?
Um, I really feel like when someone is going to be networking with others, it's really critical to kind of just be yourself, okay, and not try to be someone else. A lot of times, people when they network, they want to seem like they're a bigger company or a bigger person, or just be yourself, because you know what? Eventually, it's going to come out anyway. And why not? Why go through all that work and effort and find out that it's not the right person? All you're doing is making a false pretense, and that's not going to be a great start for a relationship. So I always tell people, be yourself, be honest. Everyone has weaknesses. No one knows everything, and it's okay to tell people what you do know and what you don't know.
Yeah, I think people respect you even more when they ask a question and you say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but you know what, I'm going to find out for you, or maybe you know the answer. I'll learn. You know what I mean. I'm open to that too. But I think
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. Being open in that way makes people more comfortable with knowing that you're a genuine person, and that you're going to be genuine with them when it comes time potentially to do business.
Yes.
Because ultimately, you and I, the three of us are talking about networking, but at the end of the day, everybody needs to eat. So we do want some of these to be transactional in nature because we all have to make money, you know. So
Yeah,
you
but
have also
see, I have to say I have a slight disagreement. I don't look at things as being transactional. Like I look at things, I don't actually expect something from giving out to someone. So when I make a referral, I don't expect to get a referral back. I don't expect that I'm going to do business with that person. I believe that if I give out enough referrals overall throughout a community, I am going to get it back in terms of not karma, but in terms of the fact that the word is out. Vic is a great networker. He gives a lot of great information out. He does a lot of this, and other people are going to hear about it and they want to work with Vic also.
Yeah, I absolutely would agree with that. I'm just not afraid. I'm also not afraid of the money part of it. Okay.
Oh, I'm not afraid either, but I don't need it I'm not going to say if I don't see anything back from you, I'm not going to help you.
No, absolutely not. Actually, if I look through my entire Rolodex from the 40 some odd years I've been in business, a very small portion of the people that I have helped and have formed relationships with, I've done actual transactional business with. Okay, like money.
Right. That was my only point.
Yeah.
Look at it from.
But I think you hit on something that is so important, so freaking important, because the other piece of that is, and I think I was talking to somebody the other day about this. There's like I said, we're all in business. We all have to do business. Okay.
Yes.
And we're not out there selling, fruit on the corner. Okay. We're not, you and I are not in a commoditized type of business.
Correct.
Okay? So at some point in time, we have to do business. It's a given. It's a given.
Yes.
We can't, we won't be able to pay our bills, keep the lights on.
100%.
So that's over here. The other part of value, though, and this is the part I think a lot of people forget too. There's so many things that people can bring you that are not money. Okay.
That's true.
Right. And not, I mean, they can, I have people who I've met who become friends of mine, right? Who I'm like, wow, this is like the greatest friendship ever, you know? Yeah. And I've never done any business with them, but I met them through business, right?
100%.
You know, and then they say, oh, they become an important part of your life. They can become an important part of introducing you to other people who also may not do business with you, but enrich your life. They may open up new opportunities to things you never even knew. They may have similar, have similar things that they do as far as hobbies are concerned. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, how many times have I found people who I'm like, wow, you play guitar? Like, you're in a band?
Yeah.
And I have this thing in common with them. We never do any business, but we jam together.
It's great. Yeah.
There's all of that as far as value to building those relationships. So I absolutely 100% agree with you. I absolutely do.
Yeah. And just to make one last note on what Vic just said, is that to me, networking is not business. To me, life is networking. Okay. And what I mean by that, I don't want to be philosophical about this, but there's an old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Sure.
And what that means really is that the bigger of circle of influence you have, the more people you know, the richer your life is. And the more you have, it doesn't have to be about money. It could be about just having more value and in terms of having a better quality of life, having more access to more people, having access to medical opportunities that if you're someone sick. But it could be so many different things you don't even realize. The value of a strong network is it's not even quantifiable.
It's not.
It's just so great.
There's another piece of that too that I want to throw in there too, that a lot of people, especially I want the folks who are new to networking to understand, is also know when to jettison someone who you do not want in your network.
I could not say that faster. There's an old saying, when you're hiring people, you fire quickly and hire slowly. Right. It's no different from networking. When you got the wrong person in your network, the faster you can get rid of them, the better you're going to be off and for everything and everyone you know.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes that that's forgotten in our, people's instruction in networking. I'm like, it's just as important in getting rid of the people that you don't want in your network as to bring people that you do want in your network. Yes. And don't be afraid of it, because some folks who, at least that I've run into where I've given seminars and talks and things like that, they're like, well, I don't really know if this person. I said, stop right there. You started that sentence with, I don't know. Get rid of them.
Okay. It's true. And there's another saying which is really important for people to know. They don't know it. Tell me who your friends are. I'll tell you who you are.
Right.
If you don't like someone, you're spending time with them, you're basically bringing yourself down. It's the worst thing you could be doing.
Agreed. That's
How would you?
so that's the second pearl that I hope people get out of this.
Well, how would you recommend to? I would say end the relationship, even though it's networking, business, and stuff. It's still relationships. How would you recommend to do that?
It depends on how bad that person is. Because if the person is outright really like obnoxious and someone you don't want anything to do with, you just got to be very straightforward and say, this is not going to work out. I wish you well, but I don't think that we should be spending more time together because we don't have the same alignment or we don't think the same way. Nothing against you, but you and I are just not meant to be hanging out together, right? That's one way I would recommend doing it. And if someone is more of a subtle bad situation where you just don't have a good feeling about a person, you don't have to. You literally can just do it. I think more on a subtle way where you can say, well, you know what? I think our timing is off. Maybe we'll get to this at a future date or something. So you don't make it so concrete and so black and white because that person may be having a bad day or may not be as bad as you thought they were, but you're not sure about that person. And you can always make your decision later. You don't have to do it right away, right?
Right. Absolutely. And there are also things that situations that come up when you're with people in social situations, which will indicate the kind of people they really are. And I'm gonna be specific about what I mean. I mean, things have happened to me in my own career. I'm out with someone, and it's almost like dating. Okay, so this happened to be a guy, but it could have been a woman as well. But I watch how they treat the waiter, how they respond to things if they don't like them. So I've been with people and they treat the waiters and waitresses as if they're non-existent. They don't treat them as people, that they have this entitlement to be waited on. And I guess what? That may be okay for other people. That's not my cup of tea. And if I were on a date with a female who did that, I would have been like, you know what? Look, I was raised right. I'm going to pay this bill, but we're done. Okay. Okay. Because
would you say that?
Yeah, and I have.
Okay.
And I have, because I'm not going to waste my time with people who are not who treat people as if they're standard.
It's about respect. It's about, people don't respect others. If you don't respect others, guess what? They're only respecting you because you have money. That's not someone you want to be spending time with.
That's not somebody you want to be with. Whether and I use dating as an example, but you don't want to date somebody like that, and you don't want to do business with someone like that.
I could not agree more. And listen, if that person cannot be a friend to you, why do you want to spend time with that person?
Correct.
And that's really the bottom line, is that when you're looking to someone to network with or do business with or get involved with on a personal level, if they can't be a friend to you, then why are you spending time with them?
Yeah. So
okay, even if it's very valuable person in business, you won't be doing any business with them if they are not good people.
That's a personal choice. Some people do it for money. I think like Vic and myself, at least I can speak for myself, but I would think Vic is in the same boat. I am not motivated by making money off someone. I am motivated by the long-term opportunities of working together with someone. And I don't want to spend time with someone who I don't respect myself. So then if I don't respect them, how could I refer them and how can I do business with them?
I couldn't agree more. And like I said, what we said at the top of this conversation, Deanna, is that we're not talking about anything, at least I know I'm not talking about anything that I haven't experienced myself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived this. I've seen it. I've dealt with people like that. And when I was early in my career, there were times because I really needed the money, because when you're starting out something, you really need the money. And I made that mistake once or twice early in my career. And I said to myself, it is so not worth it, no matter how much money is involved. This is just not going to work. And those are the people who try to take advantage of you. And those are the people who are never happy. And those are the people, when you deliver something, they got a problem. And those are, every freaking time I'm like, you know what? Bye-bye. Okay. Because it's not worth it. And like you said, Dan, it takes away from who you are when you're dealing with somebody like that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's emotionally very draining. For everyone who is listening to us or watching us, Don't hesitate to leave questions about networking, about business. If you have any business situation or challenge that you need a feedback on, share your story in the comments, and Vic and Dan will be happy to give their feedback. So did you guys meet through networking as well?
We did meet through networking. I'm trying. Dan's probably got a better memory than I do.
It was a long time ago. It's like 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was a very long time ago. But it definitely was through networking. And it was easier for me because, like I said earlier, I didn't know anybody who did what he did. As far as utilizing golf as this convening for not just the golf, but for actually networking and getting to know people and building relationships. I just didn't know anybody who put together an organization like that. So I know that it was intriguing to me when I met him because I had never seen that before. To me, it was it still is to me, an innovative way to do it. And I think this actually is a good segue, Dan, is to talk about how you got into what you do and what made you go this route, because you were doing other things before it. I'm really curious. I think it would be a story that's worth telling.
Sure. So I came up with this idea actually at 9/11, 2001. And the reason why was because at the time I was using golf as a way to do business with other people. One of my claims to fame when I was doing marketing was I was able to double sales of any business within 2 years. And one of the strongest vehicles I used was the game of golf, where I would actually target people I wanted to do business with, and I would invite them to play golf, and I would keep inviting them until they said uncle. And when they finally said uncle, then I say, listen, we play once, I will not play with you again, but you got to play with me once, and I will stop calling you. And then they would usually within 6 months to a year say, okay, uncle, stop calling me, I'll play golf with you. Uh, and and then more than 50% of the time after I played a round of golf with them, they actually said, let's play golf again. And I was like, well, I would say great. But see, I was never talking business. We were just playing golf. But after the second or third time, I'd say, I'd love to keep playing golf with you, but I can't keep doing this unless we're doing some business together. And they're not going to say at that point, no, we're not doing business together. Now we're friends.
Right.
So all of a sudden, business came in.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that on a regular basis with a lot of clients. And I said, after 9/11, I said, it's so hard to get in front of good people. Let me see if there's something else out there which I don't have to do all the work myself to invite people to play golf with me. Wouldn't it be great for someone to have a database of people I can go out and play and find people to play golf with? And there was nothing out there. I was like, this is insane. There's an old saying, there's more business done on the golf course than in the boardroom.
Amen.
And I said, why has no one created a database of people who play golf where people don't have to randomly do all the work themselves? They can just go to this place and they can find the right person who they want to play golf with and do business with those people. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this for myself, for my own marketing firm. I wasn't doing it originally as a business. I was doing it for myself. So I would have access to more people and build my own marketing firm. And then people started calling me saying, oh, I heard you have Toys R Us or XYZ company. Could I play golf with you guys? I want to be in your group.
Right.
I'm like, well, I was paying for everybody because for me, it was a vehicle for me to bring in people to get to know people.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not going to pay for you, but if you want to pay your own way, you're welcome to join us.
Mm-hmm.
And then another person called me, and then another person. I was like, you know what? Maybe instead of doing marketing for other people, maybe I can just create a golf system where I can start matching people up based on who wants to do business together. And that's how I came up with the idea.
So it was actually, it was more iterative than it was, because you were actually doing it, right?
Correct.
And you were like, wow, I think I stumbled onto something here.
Exactly.
Right.
And to me, it was like, what a great way to spend time. I can now actually just pick and choose who I want to spend time with, who I want to invite out to play golf with who. I like the people I'm inviting out, and we all basically have a good time together. And this is my life. This is the best life in the world.
Yeah. But you really have nailed it. And I mean, I've been to Dan's, like I said, I'm not a golfer, but I've been to his events and things like that, which are incredible. And I've met people there because you also have created this environment where people are open to meeting people. And I think you've almost, whether you did it intentionally or not intentionally, you've almost really pre-vetted the quality of people who are members of your, of your network.
Vic, it goes back to what we originally said. You only want to bring in people that you trust, you respect, and you like. If you don't like them and you don't respect them, why do you want them in your circle of influence?
Yeah, and it's worked out really well, because he definitely, Dan has definitely, done that to the nth degree, and all of the people that I've ever met as a result of being involved with Dan have been quality people, and people, we all should aspire to building those types of relationships and networks, whether it's for business or even outside of business, like you were telling, for life in general, is to
Exactly
build that so you can have those valuable people within your sphere.
Yeah, and the one thing I would emphasize to people also is it's quality over quantity.
Amen.
Okay, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 people in the room if you don't trust the people in that room. If you have 10 people in the room who are all high quality, that is so much more valuable than having 1,000 of anybody in the room.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Do you use, or maybe at the beginning of your career, did you use any specific techniques or strategies to be a better networker, or like to kind of like make people like you, be more friendly, or you're just naturally very, like outgoing, kind, genuine person?
It goes back to what I originally said also is be yourself.
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm not trying to copy someone else. I'm not trying to impress anybody. I sometimes people say to a fault, I'm too straightforward. I like to call things as they are, and I don't. I'm not politically motivated in terms of trying to please people on the right or the left or this or that. I just say what I think, and I think what I say. So I don't have to worry about it. Did I say the wrong thing or the right thing? Because that's what I think. And if they don't like it, they shouldn't be around me anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Vic, how about you? Do you use any techniques, strategies?
I try in the early days, I read the books and I watched the thing. Well, there wasn't videos like on, internet and stuff, because there was no internet. So it was really more books and, how-to stuff and whatever. And I got to be straight up with you. I looked at them, I read them, I listened to them, and I'm like, 99% of this is bullshit. Okay. To be perfectly honest with you. And because I am the kind of person too, and Deanna, you know this, and I think Dan knows this too. I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this, and there's got to be a more genuine way to do this. So the answer to your question is, in the early days when I first started my business, and we're talking back in 1980, okay, because I didn't officially start my business until 1981. Yes, I did try to use techniques. Absolutely, I did. And that lasted for about 2 months. Okay,
But
about 2 months. I'm like, okay, here I am. I've read all this stuff. I'm looking at, I'm like, this does not work. Okay. And if it does work, it doesn't work for me. Okay. And that was really, I'm not saying, I mean, I was being a little harsh and also being a little funny, but I'm sure that there are value for other people. Okay. But for me, it didn't work for me because it was too contrived. And I think that was one of the things that Dan was alluding to, is that I needed to be who I was. I needed to do sales the way I do sales, and I need and build relationships and network and all of those other pieces. And I felt that the other techniques are almost like tricks in a way. In many cases, they're like, well, here's a trick. Well, look, I'm not a magician. I'm not interested in tricks. Okay, really. I'm not Harry Houdini. I don't need any tricks here. What I need is some concrete information in order for me to build who I am. So I moved more away from those types of things that were tactical in nature, and more of the things that were more developmental in nature, that helped me develop my, sense of worth, and my, and what I was going to do and how I would explain things. And certainly there's certain things you need to do in order to make sure that people have immediate respect for you. One is the command of the English language. Okay. That's totally, in so many situations, is missed, is how you actually present yourself. how you speak, how you interact with people. People make judgments immediately on who you are, on how you present yourself. And fortunately, because of who my mother and father were as teachers, it was very important to understand how to use the English language and how to communicate with people. Reading in English and everything was my mother's background. So I think I was fortunate that way. And I found that out as I started to build in my business journey, that so many people were like, later on, they were like, wow, Vic, I remember when I first met you and I was impressed with not the way I looked, not what I was wearing, because I'm no fashion plate, but they were impressed with the way I communicate. And that's something I think a lot of people should spend a little bit more time on, is understanding the importance of communication. People will make a judgment on who you are and how intelligent you are, is how you utilize the language and communicate.
I also think that when you're speaking to people, you need to listen more than talk.
We did a whole thing on that. Deanna and I did a whole thing on that. Yeah.
Yep. The more you listen, it's valuable in so many different ways. So as an example, when you listen more, you know what that person cares about. You know what that person responds to. It allows you to be more familiar with that person, and that person's going to, probably enjoy the conversation more with you because you know more about them, right? And also, it allows you to address what they care about versus what you care about. If you only talk about what you care about, you're only talking to yourself.
Right, exactly. So I'm so glad you brought that up, Dan. I really am, because it's such an important part of doing that. And I think when people get overzealous about quote unquote selling, or they're like, blah, 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 I mean, and like, wait a minute, bro, take a breath. You should be listening here. You should not, you're oh God, you're right on the money. Right on the
yeah,
money.
but if we're talking about mutually beneficial relationships, business relationships, you kind of want that person to know a lot about you too, right?
Diana, here I want to answer this question directly. Okay, if that person doesn't ask you any questions, they don't care about you. So what are you wasting your breath for? You need to wait to listen for that question before you answer a question, before you talk about yourself. I always tell people, when you network, another tip for networking, as Vic was saying about tips, don't give your business card out to anybody unless they ask for it. If they don't ask for your card, they don't care about you. They're not going to call you. They don't want anything to do with you. Why are you giving them your card? You have to wait for a response from the other person before you react. Don't push yourself on people, because all you're doing is pushing them away, not bringing them to you.
Okay, so and to bring people to you, you have to listen. What else you should do?
You have to listen. And you also have to, again, be a resource to them. Find
Mhm.
out, what do they need. What's going on in their life? How can you be of help to them? Can you directly help them? Do you know someone who can help them? Be of value to others. The more you are of value to others, the more people appreciate you and care about you, because you're doing things which are of value. You're not just talking, you're actually doing something.
Mhm.
Most people just talk, they don't actually act.
But
The old saying, actions speak louder than words. Don't talk about it, do something about it.
and it's to add to that, and I know in probably one of our other conversations or videos, D, I'm gonna repeat this because I think it's important. What I will do if I'm meeting with somebody and it's a kind of that first time networking meeting, let's say it's a breakfast or a lunch, I will set the stage as to how I'd like that interaction to go. And what I'll say to them is, say, today, I'm going to listen all about what it is that you do. I'm going to ask some questions. Don't mind if I take some notes. And I'm not going to tell you anything about me. Okay? I'm not going to tell you anything about me, because if I am listening to you and waiting for you to take a breath so I can tell you about me, I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to you. I'm looking for my opportunity to tell you about me. And in many cases, people are like, huh? I'm like, yeah, you're going to tell me all about you. And I find out two things. One, if they do not say, we have to get together again because I want to know everything about you, I found out what I needed to know. Plus, if I spend that time really listening, I will find out all of the things that I need to know in one meeting. Okay, because I'm actually listening. And there are times where you, like Dan was talking about, getting into personal things and things like that. I have gotten, deep relationships where somebody said, "Oh, by the way, Vic, I know you're involved in marketing, whatever. My kid, this might be an early. My kid is looking for a summertime job. Do you know any agencies that might be able to?" I'm like, you know what? Have them send me their resume. I have them send me a resume, and I have their kid call me. Okay, I don't just pass it along. I have them call me. I said, "You have them call me," because I want to see if they are worth me referring their child to this. All right, so if the kid calls me and I talk to them, they say, and they follow up, and then I make that referral. That person who I met with, I brought value to them that had nothing to do with business. It was far more important that their child get a job during the summer than it was any business transaction they could have possibly done. And I did it because I genuinely wanted to help. But those types of things you will not find out full circle unless you're listening. Because if you're not listening, you're not going to even know that they have those kind of needs.
Now, Vic, that's an extreme. Most people aren't going to go that level, but just the point of listening is just so important. And people need to remember you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so listen twice as much as you talk.
Could not agree more. Could not, and that should be something that's taught. That's also something that should be taught in business school. But that this is a topic that they don't cover when you're in business school, because I do talks at Rutgers Business School. I do lectures at Rutgers Business School about this specific topic, and this is the first time these kids are getting it, and they're like seniors. I mean, nobody's talking to them about networking and interpersonal relationships and building it, and building that, because they're all like, no, that's not going to work, boys and girls. There's a place for it. There is a place for it, but that is not going to work to build a deep personal connection with someone by texting them or emailing them. It's just not going to work. And I'll always stand by that. There are a lot of people who are going to disagree with me, but I stand by that because I've done it myself, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
If you're selling, as you said before, a commodity, and you're a price point, and you're all about price, or if that's your business,
yep,
internet is great for you.
Amen. You're right. There's a place for it from a commoditized business. Amen. Because numbers are king. Numbers are king.
Yep.
What you and I do, relationships.
It won't work. It won't work that way. We're not going to sell our business off the internet for sure.
Not going to work.
Well, I also see that it's a different type of life, when because you're networking more than you're doing business meetings, right? You're always talking to people, and you go here and there, every day you have events. So it's like a different lifestyle.
It is.
But Dan, I tend to think that networking and business are the same. Okay, I feel that if you're not networking, you're not doing business. And the meetings you're talking about, sometimes they turn into, what is the word networking? You have to understand what that means. Networking is just building relationships and creating a stronger network, right? So whenever you're talking to people, you are networking, whether you know it or not. And when you're having a business meeting and you're talking about things, you tend not to talk strictly about, okay, you're doing this and you're doing that. You tend to talk a little bit about other things as well in your business meetings. So you again are networking even in that framework. So networking is people put it into a category, and the reality is you should be always networking. You should always be looking, who do I know? Who knows who? You should always be thinking about others, always thinking about how you can be a resource to others, because if you do that on a regular basis, as not just only in a meeting or only scheduling it, but do it all the time, you don't think about it anymore. It's just going to happen, and you're going to grow, and you're going to have more opportunities, and you're going to be more successful. That's my opinion, but I know it's a little bit off the wall. Some people think, oh no, I only network when I go to a morning meeting, and that's when I network.
No, I do my best networking at Starbucks when I'm buying my coffee in the morning. No, yeah, I'm telling you, it's amazing where you can do, like you said, Dan. It's everywhere. And Deanna, I mean, what I'm about to say, Dan's going to know what I'm talking about. The movie Glenn Ross, ABC. Okay, always be closing, right? We need a T-shirt that's ABN, always be networking. That's what we got. Okay, that's the key. It's not always.
I'll take a note.
You know, it's always be networking.
Yeah, I'm making a note. So.
Yep. We're gonna have to add that to the T-shirt line. Dan, when are your next events coming up?
So our last big event is coming up this Thursday, which is not very much notice, the day after tomorrow. We'll be at Upper Montclair Country Club, and we close out the year with a cocktail event at Morton Steakhouse in November on I believe it's the first Thursday in November. And we kick off the new year in 25 with a Texas Hold'em event that we host at one of our members' catering halls in Rutherford, New Jersey, called Materas on the Park.
Right.
And our main program is between April and October, where we meet every month at a different private country club. But we do some off-season events to keep people active throughout the year. And one thing which I didn't talk about, what we do as a group, which is a little bit unique to most other networking groups, is in addition to getting the group together, 10 days a year, we also use our database of contacts, which we have over 10,000. And we actually have our members go through that database and pick people they want to meet that we've met over the years. Well, we'll bring out someone that they want to meet, and they'll bring out someone who might be a good fit for the group. And this actually helps us grow the group while we also grow their network of opportunity, and everyone gets access to people they want to meet. And it's not done randomly like most networking is done randomly. We do it very targeted. So we don't match people up on who can sell each other. We match up people who are natural referral partners for each other. And by doing that, everyone wants to meet each other, everyone can help each other, and everyone is stronger for those relationships.
I also saw that you're kind of feature the members of your organization on your LinkedIn page. Is it like a regular thing that you do?
Yeah, we try to feature a different member throughout the cycle, so that we can get the word out about our members that these are really good people that you should know. And if you don't know them now, you should reach out to them and see who they are and how you could be of value on either side. Where, hey, I need someone, or I know someone who needs you, or whatever it might be.
Yeah. So there's really, you really do have a cadre of services, so to speak, that you provide, to people who join your organization. It's not simply, hey, come out and golf.
100%. It's very multifaceted, and listen, it's also unique in that it's not done like you have to be here on all these days. The members tell us, I have availability in the month of June. It's going to slow month for me. Let's do a lot of private networking. I'm not busy. I'm extremely busy in the month of January, so don't even talk to me in January. I'll see. I have nothing. I don't have time to really get involved with it. So people can customize it to what they want to do and how they want to use the system. It's meant to be a resource, not something which is pushed down their throat. Something they come out to and say, I want to use it in this way. I want to use it in that way. Some people actually don't even want to meet people in our program. How crazy is that? They join our system because they want to use it as a hospitality program. They want to take their clients out to all different private country clubs and be able to do that in a way where they don't do any work and they don't have to do all of the logistics. They just show up with their clients, take care of their clients every month, and different clients every month.
That's a great service. Did that just come about by accident, or because that's a great service?
Yeah. So one of my members, I thought it was crazy, but they were in the wireless business, and they only worked with telecom companies. So they had a very limited audience. So I had to know, in order for them to be of value, I could help them, I need to introduce them to people who deal with telecom companies. I didn't have that kind of audience. So I told them up front, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you. And they said quite the opposite. They want to join my system because they want to take out all their clients every month to a different event. And this is a great way for them to entertain their clients at clubs they wouldn't be able to get into. And they really can build a relationship with their existing clients. And this is how they're going to use my system. They didn't care about my membership. And I was like, what?
You're like, what?
So people can use it any way they want to use it. That's the point.
That's brilliant.
That's what makes it so unique and different, is that it's not a typical networking organization.
There's nothing typical about it, and that's one of the many reasons why I wanted to make sure we had this conversation. And I know there are going to be more, is because your organization and your experience and what you've done throughout your entire career, there's a lot there to share, and the uniqueness of what you're doing. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are going to, hopefully see this over time, and as we continue to put it out, that they're going to say, you know what, I got to reach out to this Dan guy, okay, because he seems to know what's going on, and he's doing things that are not necessarily linear in nature, because we all have to get a little bit more innovative about how we interact with people,
Yeah, it's very hard to do things the same way and expect different results, is the old saying, right?
So, Dee, did you have anything else, being that I think we only have a minute or two?
Well, I have a lot of questions, but I don't think we have time for them. I want to thank everyone for listening to us, and thank you, Marianne, for commenting, and Marianne saying that always be networking. It's a great slogan for a t-shirt.
Well, tell her she's going to get the first one.
Well, you can tell her yourself.
You're going to get the very first shirt.
Well, thank you guys for spending this morning hour with us. And I think we'll definitely host more of these business talks.
Yep, absolutely. Dan, thanks so much, brother. It's always good to see you, and thanks for doing this, in a quick, short notice kind of a thing.
My pleasure.
And we're absolutely going to do more of these. I can already feel the energy that we can, so we'll build this out. Yeah,
listen, it's a great, when you talk with great people, it's always great you get a lot of great conversation, and it's good for everybody, right?
Yeah, everybody wins, and we learn stuff too in the process.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So again, guys, thanks again for putting all this together. I appreciate you making this all happen, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Oh, we will. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording now.
Okay.